Most henna artists think they struggle with design skill when actually what they're really struggling with is design decision. I'm going to take a traditional henna pattern and convert it into a realistic looking tattoo design. If you draw like this, your work will always read as a henna pattern and not a realistic looking tattoo. Watch what happens when I change only 4 design decisions. Now, why even learn the skill of creating realistic looking tattoos? The thing is, once I rebranded myself from a henna artist into a temporary tattoo artist, the floodgates opened business-wise. I started getting hired by big brand names like Coach, Nissan, Wingstop, only to name a few. And that is because tattoos opens an entirely bigger market than henna would. Don't get me wrong, henna always has a place in my heart, but I'm so happy that I was able to come up with this concept, and it is now my mission to create more temporary tattoo artists in the world. How I even came up with this skill, I've always wanted a permanent tattoo design, but as an Arab woman who seeks her father's approval like it was a full-time job, I was like, maybe there's a way to come up with a realistic looking tattoo using henna or jagua. And so going down one too many YouTube rabbit hole, which is I see you where you are at, I sort of merged the skills of permanent tattooing with henna in order to create this new little Frankenstein. And without further ado, let's dig in. There are 3 Easter eggs hidden in this video. Find all 3 and you'll unlock a hidden message with a legit takeaway. Let's see if you can find them all. Decision number 1 might seem obvious, but it's your design choice. Tattoo designs survive by saying less, whereas henna designs survive by saying more. And with henna designs, because everything is important, almost nothing is. It is the complete and polar opposite with tattoo design choices. With tattoo design choices, you basically have one main focal point and other elements that complements that overall focal point. Whereas with henna designs, it's a lot more repetitive and you're repeating the same patterns over and over again. And so what ends up happening is if you decide to choose a henna looking pattern, even if you're using jagua, which ends up with a blue-black stain, it will still read as a henna design. Decision number 2, design hierarchy. Did you say hierarchy or hierarchy? Tattoos tell your eye where to land, whereas henna allows your eye to kind of wander everywhere. With henna designs, you basically don't have as much contrast because most of your design drives the same level of thickness with your pattern. Whereas with tattoo designs, you have to drive as much contrast as possible, but more particularly through thick and thin lines. Basically, tattoos are designed to be able to read from a distance, whereas with henna, you kind of have to come up close in order to be able to read it all together. And so I'm building jagua temporary tattoo kits specifically designed to help you with this way of working. So design and application actually work together instead of fighting against each other. If you'd like to get on the waitlist, it launches later in 2026, so you'll find the link in the description below. Decision number 3, and that is speed. Henna artists are way too concerned about speed and becoming as fast as possible. But with tattoo-like designs, if you rush it, it ends up looking like you drank 3 Red Bulls. If you compare a henna design to a tattoo design, this bridal henna work took a total of 6 hours. This included 2 hands, 4 arms, and the back of the arms. Whereas with this tattoo design, just a small surface area of the arm, and they took the exact same amount of time, which really only goes to show that you need to slow down when you are creating a realistic looking design because every little detail matters. Not only that, but with jagua, it is so much less forgiving than henna is. Once it makes contact with the skin, you can treat it like a permanent tattoo. You can't just wipe it off and reapply again the same way that you would with henna where you have like a safe leeway. It is not the same with jagua at all. So you really just have to slow the process down. Decision number 4, shading. Shading is not particularly common in henna, but believe me, it is the make or break of a tattoo looking design. If a design takes me 2 hours, trust me, half of that time is spent on only shading. Shading is what really allows to give depth to your design and give it that 3D dimension effect. Whereas with henna designs, they're a little bit more flat. And so the common shading practice is you are barely squeezing any of the paste out of the cone and you're dragging lines directly onto the skin. This is the one time you can pretend your cone to be a pencil or a pen and not an actual cone. And to reiterate the 3rd decision, you have to be super slow and delicate with this process. We can create an entirely separate video just for shading. If you're interested to learn more about different shades shading practices and techniques, comment shading techniques below. Design in jagua application is really only half the battle. Without the proper aftercare, your design can end up looking patchy or faded, or even worse, like way too dark that it ends up reading like a marker and not a permanent tattoo design. If you've ever blamed the paste, the weather, or Mercury retrograde, then be sure to watch the jagua aftercare video next. Am I in focus? Design hierarchy. Hierarchy or you know what they say, a girl is only helpless when she's waiting for her tattoo to dry.